What's going on YouTube? So the Honda CR-V is one of those products that needs no introduction because millions of people have bought one of these over the 5 generations it's been available. Now I'm standing next to the all-new 6th generation. But not just any 6th generation, the new hybrid model in the exclusive sport touring trim level. Now we've already sampled the regular model with the 1.5 liter turbo, but is this new hybrid model the one you should buy? Let's go ahead and find out. Now, if you watched our previous video, which was focused on the EXL trim level, you will immediately notice that something is quite a bit different when you choose this sport touring hybrid model. So let me first talk about the trim levels so you don't get confused. This is going to be available in 4 trim levels. 2 of them are going to be gas only and 2 of them will be hybrid only. And in the order that they appear in price, it's going to be the EX trim level, the Sport trim level, which is hybrid only, the EXL trim level, and then the Sport Touring model, which is what we have today, also hybrid only. Honda says they're going to sell about 50% of these as hybrid, and I believe that looking at the exterior, because when you choose to have the hybrid model, this is where you get these aggressive elements you're looking at today. So compared to the standard model, you're going to have a more aggressive lower fascia. It definitely brings the sport into sport touring, as well as the grille, which is finished in a really nice looking gloss black. Gets rid of all the chrome accents as well, and extends this piece of gloss black over through here and into our headlight unit. Now the overall vehicle for this new generation is wider, which gives it a better stance by 0.4 inches. And let's go ahead and talk about our headlights as well. So as you can see, these are full LED headlights. I am happy to report they are standard on every single trim level of the new CR-V. As you can see, we have our LED reflector low beams right through here on both sides, the high beams right there in the middle, and then we've got our turn signal indicator and daytime running light right there at the top. There are no fog lamps offered on any of the trim levels though. As we come around to the side, we'll check out our wheel options. So since there's no longer an LX trim level, you do start out with 18-inch alloy wheels. They're going to have the same silver design on the EX and EXL trim levels. However, when you get to the Sport trim level, that gives you a contrast design. And if you choose this fully loaded Sport Touring model, you get these right here. These are 19-inch gloss black alloy wheels, which I think look very nice, especially when they complement this new blue paint color. So you do actually have 2 new blue colors on the CR-V, as well as 2 other new colors for this new model. Now as we come up here to the mirrors, we do have a nice gloss black finish on the top, and all the models will have standard heating as well as blind spot monitoring. Now taking a look at the side design as a whole, I think you'll immediately notice one of the big changes, and that's going to be a size increase. This is 2.7 inches larger than the previous generation model, which was already a pretty large vehicle for this class. Additionally though, the proportion does change because this A-pillar has been pushed back substantially. That gives you a longer hood appearance and gives this a more aggressive and nicer looking stance. Now as far as the features you're going to see over here, I do want to point out that the gloss black roof rails are included on both the Sport and the Sport Touring trim levels. And let's carry on to the rear design. So Honda did kind of evolutionarily update the look. You'll have all the signature CR-V elements that you expect to see, but everything looks, again, more fresh and more aggressive, just like with the front end design. So let me start out with our taillights. From the very beginning, you've always had the vertical signature on the CR-V. That does continue for the 6th generation, but it has an additional kind of kink that goes over through here, which does remind me a little bit of Volvo, but I think it looks really nice with this model. You're going to be looking at LED elements except for this incandescent turn signal indicator. Now in the middle here, we do have an exposed wiper. You also have a spoiler up top. And as we go down, you're going to notice a lot of branding. Of course, we got CR-V, we've got hybrid, and then over here on the side, you'll have both your sport and your touring badges. Now, one of the things I really like about the hybrids design specifically is the fact we have exposed exhaust pipes on these models. So if you choose either the Sport or the Sport Touring, you get the exposed exhaust. It's kind of actually the opposite of what a lot of manufacturers do you've got these exhaust pipes on the hybrid trim levels. And then if you choose the fully loaded Sport Touring, that's where you'll get this gray finish for the rear bumper area. Now the last thing I want to mention while I'm squatted down here is the fact that for the very first time, the hybrid model can now tow 1,000 pounds. And let's go ahead and talk about our safety and warranty information. Now starting with the safety information, Honda always had a lot of standard safety features, and one of the things they emphasized with this new generation is they basically refined those features to make them smoother and more accurate in operation. So what you're going to be looking at is standard forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, automatic high beam headlights, as well as adaptive cruise control with a traffic jam assistant. Now talking about our warranty information, we've got the signature Honda warranty. It's going to be 3-year, 36,000 mile basic warranty, 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty, and you do also now have 2 years or 24,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. But as interesting as this new exterior of the CR-V is, I know what's really important is what's on the inside. So let's go ahead and get to that. So walking up to this next generation CR-V, Honda was nice enough to include a standard smart entry system on every single version of this model, and a remote start system as well, located right there on the fob. As you can see, this is their newest design. It's nice and compact. And to get inside, just reach behind the handle. That will unlock the door. There's a good look at the interior as a whole. And we'll go ahead and climb inside and take a look at all the details of the new cabin. Now let's kick things off here by talking about our different interior color and material choices. So your EX trim level, that will come standard with a cloth seat. The Sport model will also come standard with a cloth seat. And then your EXL and your Sport Touring models, those will come standard with leather seats. That, of course, is what we have today on this fully loaded Sport Touring hybrid model. And as you can see, really nice looking seat. I love the way that they have designed the stitching and quilting details that run through here. Of course, it is also perforated, as you can see. And during our ride up here to the winery, the seats themselves are very comfortable on an over 1 hour road trip. Now, speaking of the seats themselves, let's talk about the adjustments. It's going to be 10-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support as standard on all trim levels. Now, Honda has also upgraded the overall cabin materials. So let's start out by taking a look at the door trim. We're going to be looking at a nice leather material across the armrest with a color contrast stitching detail. It is going to be soft touch plastic all through here and along the top. And we do have a beautiful piano black finish trim on the EXL trims and the Sport Touring models. Over here, you're going to find 2-person memory seating also on both of those trim levels. And all 4 of the windows will be one-touch automatic. Moving on to the upper dash, this is all finished in a nice soft touch plastic with a good texture. As we go down, of course, you're going to find that single vent design that a lot of recent Hondas have had. It kind of ties it all together as one family of vehicles. And again, you'll notice more piano black accents on the upper end models. And then finally, coming down here on the lower panels, it's actually not going to be leather padded, even on this top end model. So I do wish that they would add a little bit of leather trim here, like some of the rivals, to rest your knee against. However, everything does feel very, very solid, as typical with Honda. Now to start it up, put your foot on the brake and press the standard button. And of course, being a hybrid, most of the time the engine will not even fire up when you start the vehicle. So first thing first, let's talk about our gauge cluster. It does look quite a bit different than the outgoing generation. You're going to have a 7-inch display over here on the left side, and then an analog gauge cluster over here on the right side for your speed readout. This over here can be reconfigured to a lot of different things, and of course it does look different for hybrid duty. So you'll notice right now we have the power flow indicator, but we can also change it to basically a gauge that tells you what % of power that you're utilizing instead of having a tachometer. Now there is no option for a full digital cluster, and there is also no option for a head-up display at this time. As I come back here, you'll notice we have rain sensing wipers. That's going to be Sport Touring exclusive. And as I come back to the steering wheel, another thing that's Sport Touring exclusive is going to be this heated steering wheel. We do have a nice leather wrapping on board with the stitching detail, and of course it's going to be manually adjusting for tilt and telescoping on all trim levels. But now let's go ahead and check the interior storage, because that of course is something that CR-V has always been known for, really making the most of the available space. And we'll see how this new generation stacks up. So right off the bat here, we do have this little tray. We can toss that off to the side, and then check out this center console. This is absolutely cavernous. As a matter of fact, Honda says this is the largest in the segment at 9 liters, and I certainly believe that, because this looks like something you'd find in a much larger vehicle than a compact crossover. We do have a nice felt lining down there at the bottom as well. And you know we did it. We brought our coupons all the way from Kentucky to California just so we could stick them in there and show you guys that you can fit an absolute ton of them. Now up in front of that, we got a little shelf right there. 2 nice and deep cup holders, which are good for holding those bottles of water. We also have a lot of storage up here in the front with a good grippy texture for your cell phone. EXL and Sport Touring models will come with this wireless phone charging pad, which is nice and large for even big phones. And we have a USB-C, a USB-A, and a 12-volt outlet. Now, as I pull back here to the shifter, this is something you'll definitely notice is different from the outgoing generation. Previously, the hybrid model had the push-button transmission shifter. This one here actually has a traditional style. And really, the only thing that's different about the shifter from the 1.5 turbo model is the fact that we have this extra area right here labeled B, and that basically just puts you in a more aggressive brake regen mode. R, of course, is for reverse, and that's going to bring up this standard backup camera. Honda has upgraded the resolution this year, although I will say it's still a little crunchy for what I would expect at this price point. That being said, you do have active trajectory on board. You also have front and rear parking sensors on the EXL and the Sport Touring models. You don't have the availability to get a 360-degree camera system, however, which a lot in this segment do offer on the top end trim level. And then right behind that, you do have your electronic parking brake with your brake hold function. Now, continuing our tour of the CR-V's interior, we come to our climate controls next. This is a big improvement from the previous generation, which had some physical controls, but some of them were inside of the display. A lot of times traditional is better, and this is one of these cases where we have some really nice physical knobs for all of the climate controls. They make a really nice clicky sound, kind of like an Audi, or also the Honda Accord has a very similar setup. Off to the side of that, you have 3-stage heated seats. That's actually standard on every single version of this new CR-V. However, I do want to point out that you are missing seat ventilation even here on the top end trim level. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk audio systems next. So there are a few different on board, a 240-watt 6-speaker, an 8-speaker sound system, and then the top-end Sport Touring model only comes with the CR-V First branded Bose Centerpoint sound system. That's going to have 12 speakers, and let's go ahead and give it a sample right now. Okay, I'm pretty impressed. It definitely has a lot of bass when you put it on a bass-heavy song like that, and really fills up the cabin well. Previously, the CR-V, that was kind of a weak area, the top-end audio system choice. This is certainly a huge improvement for the new generation. Okay, so let's talk about the technology improvements, which are also pretty substantial this year. So you've got 2 different display choices for this next generation model. It's going to be a 7-inch display for EX and Sport trim levels. EXL and Sport Touring trim levels will come with the 9-inch display you're looking at right now. Also, what you're looking at right now is Android Auto, and it's running wirelessly today, and that's because with the 9-inch display, you do have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. If you have the smaller display, you still get both systems, but it's going to be a wired connection. So that's something important to keep in mind when you're choosing which trim level that you want to purchase. Now, otherwise, the software is going to be exactly the same as what you've seen in many other Honda products. Again, the hybrid does have a special display that will show you some hybrid exclusive information. Now, as we rise on up here, our EXL and Sport Touring grades will come with an auto dimming mirror. There are no HomeLink universal remotes built into the bottom of it, though. And up here at the top, this is both a really nice feature and a disappointing feature. It's nice that we have a standard sunroof on every single trim level, even the base model. However, I would like to see this upgraded to a panoramic sunroof, which continues to not be available on this new generation of CR-V, even on the top model. All right, guys, let's go ahead and climb into the back seat of this all-new CR-V, because this is one of the strongest areas about this vehicle. Now, you notice I climbed inside and actually left the door open, because before I even start talking about the space figures, I do want to mention this door. Look how wide it opens. It's a full 90 degrees, so that's going to be super helpful for getting those car seats and things that your family needs inside of the cabin. All right, now shutting it up though, let's go ahead and get right to talking about space, because I think that's the most important thing about this CR-V's rear seat. So we're going to be looking at 41 inches of legroom, 38.2 inches of headroom. And if you know anything about the previous generation of the CR-V, it's the fact that it was already absolutely enormous, one of the very largest in the class, and Honda has actually added to that even further. So this is actually going to be 0.6 of an inch more legroom than the outgoing generation, and it is indeed bigger than pretty much anything else in this segment. I can stick my feet all the way out like this and wiggle them underneath here, so I'm supremely comfortable even being 5'8" and sitting behind my own driving position. Your kids will be even more comfortable. Another thing I want to talk about with comfort is the fact that the CR-V's seats now have 8 levels of recline. So right now I'm in the most upright setting. If I grab this right here and I slide this back, this is as far back as it goes. And as you can see, this is a lot of recline. I don't think I've ever been in anything in this class that can recline the seats this much. And once again, just kind of supports this comfort, because this does not feel like a compact SUV by the fact that I can lay down like this and I could really take a good nap back here. Let's also talk about the features. So here on the Sport Touring trim level, you will of course have rear air vents. Both the Sport and the Sport Touring models will come with 2 charging USB-C ports back here. And we do have a mat pocket as well. The other little thing I want to mention is, of course, your armrest, and you do have 2 cup holders inside. Let's turn over and take a look at our door trim. It is going to be a hard touch on the top, unlike the front, but the rest of the materials will be the same as the front, including your piano black accents, the leather armrest with the stitching details, and you do have some bottle storage down there at the bottom. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and walk up here and take a look at our cargo area as well. So we do have a hands-free power tailgate on this fully loaded Sport Touring model. It's going to be manual on your EX and your Sport trim level, and just power on the EXL trim level, in case you're wondering. But check out this space. Just like with the rear seats, the cargo area in this all-new CR-V is absolutely enormous. It has grown quite a bit, especially for the hybrid model, because previously the hybrid model you did have to pay a space penalty, and you don't have to do that this year. So you're going to be looking at just over 36 cubic feet behind the second row, and when you fold that down, you're looking at 76.5 cubic feet with those seats folded. Once again, that is absolutely enormous. That is going to be larger than the main competition of this vehicle, which is going to be, of course, RAV4 and Nissan Rogue. Now, there are no handles back here to fold the second row seats down, so you will have to go ahead and walk up to the second row, grab the handle at the top, and I'll go ahead and fold that down. That way you can take a good look at just how much space that is, and that it is mostly flat once you get those seats folded down. One thing that is a little different about the hybrid model is you don't have any additional storage underneath of the floor, and this can't be adjusted for height, but you do still have LED lighting right there and a 12-volt outlet. Now, taking a look at our passenger seat, it is basically the same as the driver, except for that you are missing the lumbar support. Let's take a look at our glove box. As you can see, there's a lot of junk already in here, including like driver's manuals and things like that. And even so, we still have plenty of space for the real valuable things in life, our coupons. They're gonna fit in there just fine. Now as we rise up here, we've got a nice visor. It does have a mirror and light, and you can detach it and extend it out. So I went ahead and popped the hood so we could discuss what is under the hood for this new hybrid model. So Honda actually has redesigned their two-motor hybrid system, and as you'd expect, since it's called two-motor hybrid system, it is a 2-liter 4-cylinder paired with 2 electric motors and of course a lithium-ion battery pack. Total power that you'll be looking at is 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque. So if you remember the previous generation, that is actually going to be down ever so slightly on horsepower, but a pretty substantial boost in overall torque, making this the torqueiest CR-V ever made. Now, if you're wondering about the traditional gas-powered model, I will go ahead and mention that as well. That's going to be a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, making 190 horsepower. Now, as far as your transmission, it is going to be a continuously variable transmission for both of the models, and you have standard front-wheel drive and available all-wheel drive. Now, I want to also talk about your fuel economy because this is a hybrid after all, and it is a very impressive figure. So let me go ahead and show you guys that, and I'll make sure I read it off so I get it right. The hybrid with front-wheel drive, that is going to get 43 city, 36 highway, 40 combined. So that's a very, very impressive figure. The hybrid all-wheel drive system is rated at 40 city, 34 highway, 37 combined. And the Sport Touring model, it is only available in all-wheel drive. And last but certainly not least, let me also mention the pricing. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, there is no longer an LX trim level, so that does raise the base price a good deal. You're now looking at an EX front-wheel drive at $31,110, but of course that does come with a lot more standard features. The Sport trim level is going to start at $32,450, EXL $33,760, and the Sport Touring, again with standard all-wheel drive, will be $38,600. Now guys, at this point, you probably know the drill about how these press events work. We want to show you guys the latest things first, but we are under a driving impressions embargo. So that means you are going to have to come back to the channel sometime after October 18th and check out our driving impressions. That's where we'll take it out on the road and show you guys how the hybrid system operates and if this is the one that you want to choose. So make sure you come back to the channel, set your calendar for October 18th. Well guys, thanks so much for joining us for this in-depth review of the all-new 2023 Honda CR-V Hybrid. We hope you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions. And if you did, make sure to go down below and press subscribe. When you do that, that allows us to have more opportunities to film the latest content, such as this Honda CR-V out here in California as soon as it is launching. Also, make sure you follow us on our social medias, TikTok and Instagram, if you want to see shorter form content. And we additionally do have a website that has merch on it if you want to support our channel in that way. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.